after we define these things that are important, how we can communicate these accessible designs to the engineering? Léonie, would you like to?
Sure. So I think there's an important step here before we think about how to communicate, which is what you're going to communicate. And I always encourage designers to go and find a developer, make friends, take them cake. That's always a good way to start a friendship. But find out what the people who will be building and coding your designs actually do and how they do it and what their limitations might be. And that works both ways as well. If you're a developer and you're listening in now, go find a designer, take them cake. It's a good way to start a friendship. Find out about what designers do, why they do it, how they do it, because the more we can understand about what other people in the production lifecycle do, the better we'll be able to design things that can be successfully implemented. And, that means taking into account all the things Rakesh was just saying about, good semantics, good HTML, architecture, and all of those things. So try and get a better understanding of what everybody else is doing. Then you're in a really good place to start actually communicating. One really good way is annotate your designs. If you're working in Figma or Storybook or any of those platforms, they've all got ways that you can annotate your designs. So leave the development team notes, say, look, this is what I intend for this thing to do. This is how I expect it to work in a functional sense. I've designed it this way with a button on this form, or, with the expectation this will auto-complete. Doesn't matter what, but just leave as many notes as you can about your expectations, why you've designed things, your reasons, your rationale. Get into the habit of having handover meetings if you don't do that already. Don't just send your design work or your design prototype over the wall into the development team and wish them luck. Go find them, have a handover meeting, go through your designs again, talk them through the annotations, let them ask you questions about how things should be implemented, and actually make that transition handover a kind of key meeting. The last thing is then reverse that process. Don't feel that once you've handed stuff over to development, that's the end of your job. Keep an eye on stuff, maybe come back towards the end as things are in development and check it. Does it actually implement your designs, and particularly the accessibility you've built into your designs in the way that you expected? So I guess the short version of what I'm saying is collaborate. Don't just do your work and then think it's not your problem anymore. Make it easy, make it as informative as you can, and then work with the development team through that process. And likewise, if you're a developer, work with the designer, so it's much more seamless and hopefully a lot more accessible by the time we get to the end of it.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Rakesh, do you want to add anything?
No, I think that very well summarized, and that's pretty very important. The handshake between the designer and developer, and over a period of time, I think that's what the learnings are. Biljana, when we were working. So initially, it might be a little more time for the developers to understand what these annotation mean and how does that reflect. But as these conversations happen quite often, it becomes seamless.
Yeah, I think the important thing is to start implementing accessibility from the start and not after we finish development. So it's important step. Okay, thank you. Let's go further. So what are some technologies that people with disabilities use to interact with digital content, which the designers should be aware of?
Well, I would say all technologies that people with disabilities use should be known to the designers. You're the guys who think of these experiences of every user, regardless of their abilities. You want the design that you want, the product that you want to get to the hands of the users. You don't want, hey, if you are hearing impaired, no, you don't use it. That's not your target. Your target is to reach to everyone, which means you need to know every technology. Probably not possible, but probably we can talk um, some of those technologies that are quite popular, especially in the digital accessibility world. So screen readers that already Liani has brought in. Screen readers are the really sophisticated and important assistive technology that someone should know how it behaves, what is that it reads, how does that communicate the information to the user. How it's not probably, I don't want to expect you to know the technical um, development of a screen reader, but definitely on product information, what is that the screen reader picks when you are creating a picture, then how do you expect that picture to be read to the screen reader? And what is the alternative description that should be, or what is that information that you want to convey through that picture via screen reader to the user? That's one. And second thing is definitely as simple as keyboard. Thinking about keyboard only users will go a long way in understanding the experiences of several users. The screen reader users are also keyboard only users, while keyboard only users may not always be screen reader users. You need to think about bringing these screen readers and keyboards together and thinking about keyboard as a alone probably an assistive technology. We don't think keyboard as an assistive technology, but it is a very important technology to be thought for. And depending on what kind of application that you are creating, like you think about Zoom now we are talking on. If I am talking like this and you people are listening, did you say what I heard, what I'm speaking?
Just a few words we didn't hear. Now we can hear you. Yeah, we can
Exactly.
continue.
That is how a person with hearing impairment will experience.
Okay.
So think about those users and what do you want to do if there is anything that you have to do with your product, and if that has audio capability, or if you have videos on your device or on your product, how do you want to think about those users? Um, think about someone who may be a person with low vision. They might be switching to a high contrasting mode, maybe switching colors. It's not just technologies, but it could be a simple feature that is built into your computer or mobile phone. I would encourage you after this session to just get into on your phone or your computer. Just look at what are the accessibility features that are built in, and see what they do, and how can you simulate some of those experiences when you are recreating your designs. And that should go a long way as you progress your accessibility journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Biljana, I don't know if you can share it, but I just sent you a website, or at least a YouTube playlist in the Zoom chat. I don't know if you're able to share it, but it's 5 videos that introduce the most common assistive technologies. So the keyboard, as Rakesh mentioned, screen
Sure.
magnification used by people with low vision, screen readers on the desktop and on mobile devices because they're quite different tools, and also speech recognition, which is often used by people with physical disabilities. The other thing I'd add to what Rakesh is saying is that you shouldn't think about any of these tools in terms of people with disabilities, because actually pretty much everybody uses them. We might not call them assistive technologies a lot of the time, but actually the thing that underlies them all is exactly the same. So if you use Siri or Cortana or an Echo device or a Google Home where you're speaking to it and asking it to do something, that's very similar to a lot of what speech recognition tools do. If you listen to what any of those things say back to you, in some respects, that's a lot like what a screen reader will do. It's the same technology to a certain extent. They're not identical, of course, but the kind of point I'm getting at is that we're all actually using a lot of speech to do things, give commands or listen to content. If we don't use the keyboard, Actually, keyboard accessibility is what underpins a lot of accessibility for speech in or speech out technologies. We're all using touch devices in different ways. So actually your audience for getting some of this stuff right is much bigger than just people with disabilities. It's pretty much everybody who uses, well, all kinds of technology, really.